Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. By Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. Proc it. Jackson Aurelia. T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and casts from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're laning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like you're Resi in a bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like Malphite planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, this is Jen, and I'm going to be hosting tonight's episode of the Trinity Force podcast. I'm joined tonight with Chira.
Hi.
DeClaude.
Hello.
And Punch.
Hey there.
DeClaude's a little behind today. Don't worry about it. It's a normal thing.
Sorry, it's the Bluetooth. It's like...
Tonight, Punch wants to get a little bit more in depth with Kalista, and we'll talk about what we've seen or played in the preseason. But before that, before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to the guys at Prolific Games. They're pretty good friends of the podcast and cool guys, but they also just started a Kickstarter for an expansion to their game Flapjacks and Sasquatches. And I didn't screw that up. I'm sure you heard Adam talk about it on Monday, but I want to tell you a little bit more information about the Kickstarter and how it works. As of right now, I believe the expansion's about $800 for being funded. And while you probably haven't played the base game, I'm sure you heard it's a really great opportunity to pick up the game and expansion, which is pretty cool because from what I've heard, it's really fun and a pretty hilarious game to play. So it's definitely worth it. And for $25, you'll actually get a copy of the base game and you'll be able to help them fund the expansion pack. So it's definitely worth it. Right now on Amazon, you can get the base game for $25, but you still have to pay for shipping. So this way you can get it, you don't have to pay for shipping, and you help them out a little bit. And if you decide, you can also add on the extra $15, and you'll get the base game and the expansion for $40, which is called Cup of Joe. So with every Kickstarter out there, there's extra perks for donating more, but you're really going to get most of your money worth for every tier past $40. So it's just a really good opportunity to help support friends of the podcast, and it's a fun game in general. So I definitely think you guys should check it out. Maybe pick it up, and so you can head over to bit.ly/T-Force game and pick up Flapjacks and Sasquatches to help Prolific finish their Kickstarter while simultaneously grabbing a great card game to play with family during the holiday season. I'm also thinking make a great drinking game.
Yeah,
I know. Has anyone else played it?
Adam's going to bring it up the next time he comes up, and Punch, him and I are supposed to play it, and I'm sure I'll just make Caleb play it with us.
Promise to send me a copy. I should probably just get one on my own.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get one too. It sounds like it'd be really fun when he was describing it, so I'm definitely going to check it out. Everyone else should too. It seems like it'd be a really worthwhile thing to check out.
As a drinking game, make sure you only drink lagers.
All right, you're fired. Also, we just want to give a shout out to the LCS Rundown for their episode 41, which is going to be airing next week. Next week? Is that the next week? Anyways, December 14th. They're going to be welcoming the North American Challenger team Inertia onto the show as a special guest. They'll have their team's manager as well as some of the players on to talk about LCS, answer community questions, and things of that nature. And you can actually head over to our subreddit, which is reddit.r/T-Force Network. And there's a sticky in there that you can post any questions that you have for them. If you have any questions about what it's like to be on a team like that, or, what their hopes are and what their anything that they were willing to talk about would be a great place to put it. And, you might actually get some of your questions answered. That was actually harder to say than the Sasquatches.
Yeah.
So the Challenger team Inertia.
Yep. On December 14th. So you have about a week to get your questions in, and it'd be pretty interesting to hear how things are from, a player perspective.
Yeah, it looks like the manager and some players, so I guess it may not be confirmed what players, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, well, we're actually going to start out with Punch. Punch is really excited to talk a little bit more about Kalista. We touched on her a little bit at the end of the last episode, but we didn't get very in-depth with her. We just kind of gave an overview.
Yeah, I mostly wanted to talk about her abilities. We talked about her ult a lot, but specifically Q, W, and E. And what I've been maxing first on her, which is Q. I know some people have been maxing Ren first. When I looked over the two abilities, I decided on Q first, mostly because of the bonus damage you gain per level on Q. You gain 60 damage every point you put into Q, compared to Ren's 10 damage on the base initial burst when you hit the ability, along with 4 extra damage per spear. And again, this is the bonus damage you gain per level for each ability. So let me go over that
like
again.
11,
for
12 spears.
So let me go over that again for Rend. It's every time you put a point to Rend, you're gaining 10 more bonus physical damage when you use the ability, that base damage when you initially use it. And then you gain 4 damage per spear, then 5 damage per spear, then 6 damage per spear, then 7 damage per spear. So the scaling does go up over time. And the slow also goes up for each level you put into it. And the cooldown goes down every level you put into it. So initially, Ren looks like a good target to level first. But that's I don't really think that's the case. Like I said,
on it, or?
I did a bit of math on it. So you're basically comparing the 70 damage that you gain per level from your Q to 60 damage, not 70. 60 damage that you gain from leveling your Q compared to the 10 damage, so you subtract that straight off. That's 50 damage you have to make up through stacks of your spears. So when you put your second point into Rend and you gain 5 bonus damage, that means you have to have 10 stacks on your target to make up that damage, just to make up the damage that you got for free for hitting with 1 Q. So you're still going to be in lane at that point. That's pretty early in the game. You're not going to get 10 stacks on somebody in a trade. And if you do, they should be dead before you use Rend. So the most you're going to get off in trade in lane is like 2 or 3 autos.
You know, I've noticed Kalista's really, they hold their Ren too long to try to get the stacks, and it gives you time to creep back and let them fall out. So it's tough game, and you got to kind of use them right away, so you're not going to get that damage. That makes sense.
It's got multiple uses. It's kind of hard to decide when to use it, but like early on, and when you don't have it fully maxed yet, I'd say you definitely want to use it earlier, at least when they're trying to get away, just so you can get the slow, because that big bonus burst damage isn't going to come into effect until late game when you've got a lot of AD.
To set them up.
Right, you got to set it up.
What about if you want dragon control? Because isn't that really good for smiting the dragon, quote unquote?
It's fantastic. It's a bonus smite. That's what I wanted to get into next. Was I would level Rend up second, and that's because of dragon control and Baron control.
Dragon. Okay.
Rend does a huge amount of damage when you get a ton of stacks on it. So let me paint the picture here. This is just base damage on Rend, no AD ratios. If you get 20 stacks on your target for Dragon and Baron, not unreasonable. That is 600 damage base. Without considering the AD, 600 damage. That's a second smite. That gives the team that has Kalista on it a huge advantage for those two objectives. And for a meta that looks like it's heading towards dragon control, Kalista could be seeing a lot of play just because of how well she can help secure it. Now, it's key that you have to communicate when you're using Rend with your jungler, because Kira and I were in a game.
When people just pop it and then they blow it, and you're timing it to smite, and then all of a sudden it goes down and they just go over the wall and they smite it, and it's like, well, you can't count on that extra 800 damage without somebody telling you about it. Yeah, that's
exactly what happened to us. I think the dragon had 700 damage or so. I used Rend and had 13 health left.
Yep.
Didn't say anything when I used Rend. I just used it, and Chira's like, "What the hell happened to this dragon?"
I was like,
that was me.
It happened before I had even. I mean, that's just on my bad for not landing the smite, but it was also like really wasn't expecting that. So I mean,
Kalista's got to communicate that. That's kind of Kalista's theme is she has to communicate with her team. Like you have to communicate with your Oathsworn, you have to communicate with your jungler. Which actually isn't a bad thing. I like that for the champion. Anything that promotes team play, I like. But in addition to the second smite that Ren gives, Also consider her W, the Sentinel, to provide vision when you're watching out for the jungler to come try and steal your objective. That's also going to make it that much harder, or that much easier for you guys to secure Dragon or Baron.
How long does that thing last? Because it seems like it's there all freaking game.
It is 9 patrols. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Or I'm sorry,
And
7
it's got a pretty
laps.
long range.
The Sentinel
Okay.
perform a total of 7 laps, including the first 2 lengths. Whatever that means. So I'm going to go with 7. Yes, 7 back and forth. It doesn't have a specific time. It's just however long, or
And
however long it
goes
takes to go back and
within
forth.
a 1,400 unit worth of distance. So it returns to a point within 1,400 units of the location in which it was casted.
Are they targetable? I don't remember. I haven't played with one in a
Yes,
while.
you can kill them.
Okay.
In fact,
You can sneak it behind it and kill it.
Yep, you can kill it if you're behind it, smacking it.
Without them seeing you.
They won't see you. They don't get any vision if the Sentinel isn't looking at it. So there's kind of like a little RNG factor there, because if the Sentinel just turns around, you walk through a bush, kill it real quick, and they're not paying attention, Sentinel didn't do anything. But if
I
it
like
just
to think
happened to
of
be
it-
facing you, it's going to follow you. But it's
I like
still...
to think of it as like a Metal Gear Solid type mini game. I love those spy games. So you think you're the jungler, you just watch it just roll back and forth, and then when it turns around, you hurry up and kill it. I like that.
And it takes
exactly
it takes 2 auto attacks to kill it.
Mhm.
So it's just like a
That's not bad.
ward. It's just
Two
like
hits,
a
the
ward,
zero
yeah.
points, right?
Yeah, 2 hits. It just like a ward. It has 3
You can't one-shot it.
hits, but yeah.
No. The other portion of W I wanted to mention was the soul marked passive, where if she and her Oath Swarm, which is probably going to be the support, attack the same target within 1.5 seconds of each other, they do additional magic damage. That is a significant amount of damage. It's 12 at level 1 to 20% of the target's maximum health at max rank. You're probably going to be sitting on 1 rank of that for a while. Excuse me. So, but 12% of the target's maximum health is still considerable. You definitely want to pay attention to that in the lane, because that's going to be how you win trades. It's going to be easier to get that off if your support is ranged, but if you're going all in with a melee support, that could be what secures the kill. Let's see. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh, and that was using or oath swearing not your support. If you know what I'm
like a jungler.
right, the jungler. I was in a game where Soraka was my support. My jungler was Volibear. I thought, no brainer. I'm going to oath swear. I'm going to throw the spear at Volibear's feet. And he didn't know what the hell was going on. He's like, did you just use her passive on me? Yes, I did. So please come gank my lane. He never ganked my lane. It was
It's
totally
so cute.
worthless.
Just don't ninja spear people
Right.
because it'd be useless.
Yeah. So it's just another caution about using Kalista and solo queue. You want to. I guess you kind of just want to use it on support, because you can never count your jungler ganking your lane.
Right.
Unless you're duo queuing with your jungler, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Because I think there is a lot of merit to using that on your jungler. I mean, the potential for the jungler coming through the lane for a lane gank seems really powerful. I've just never been able to do it.
You know, I did a game. Actually, I think it was the day that Kalista was released. I had a Kalista jungle who I was on top, of course, just messed with the cheese tactics, and she threw the dagger at my feet, said, grab it for the smash and then the ult. Like, okay, so grabbed it, and she ganked my lane once, and that was pretty much it. Sometimes she would do it in team fights if she was there, or, not dead, but yeah, I stick with her as marksman and just do your support.
Now, did she ever, this probably didn't happen, but did she ever ult you while you were ulting as Sion?
No, I've seen what you can do. Like he can ult, he'll finish his ult and then he'll come back and then go flying to somebody.
That's crazy.
So she always ulted me first, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Oh, I'm ulted. And then I would ult when I came out of it. So
I have a hard time seeing the potential in that unless you were kind of like you were close to begin your ult, or you were close to begin with when you're casting your ult as Sion. Like 2 teams are next to each other. Sion goes with his ult, and then Kalista pulls him back, and then he goes out again and hits them all again for a double knockup. I think that'd be cool, but it'd be hard to pull off.
yeah,
It's just kind of like a pie in the sky type thing.
one of the cheese things with her ults. Did you want to talk about all the different little things that right now she can do with that ult?
Oh, all the champion interactions. I didn't watch the full video.
Okay.
I kind of like skipped forward to Fiddle, so I can talk about. Did you see the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Fiddle part, I'll just talk about the Fiddle part, and then you can take the rest of it. But yeah,
Okay.
So basically what happens is Fiddle will finish channeling his ult, and then if Kalista pulls him back, he is trapped in her little Pokeball on top of her, and his ult is still spinning around her. So it's kind of like she becomes the center of the Fiddle ult for the duration of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is kind of neat. I've seen that happen in a game actually. But the one I haven't seen happen in a game that I watched in this little video where I forget the user, but they were showing all the different little things you could do. The Anivia one, of course. Anivia, if you cast it on her right as she's dying, you grab the egg and then she can throw herself back to your turret to safety.
Right.
That's huge. A Cathian surprise for Kog'Maw. If he's about to die, you ult him and then you grab his little bomb and you can throw the bomb at people and he'll blow up. Also, Urgot, while he's ulting someone with his little hyperkinetic position reverser, you grab he starts the ult, it's got a little channel time, and then you grab him with Kalista, and you kidnap the enemy champion that he had, and Urgot stays right there. You know, he can slam it and knock her up when you grab her. And Skarner too. Skarner, when he's ulting, you grab and then you yank him.
I've seen a bunch of people playing the kidnap comp sort of thing.
But, yeah. They're kidnap comps right now, so who knows if they'll get patched out because they're fun, but I don't think they were intended the way they were.
Right.
Although some champions like Vel'Koz, for example, if you ult Vel'Koz while he's channeling his ultimate, Vel'Koz will finish his ultimate and then he'll get grabbed.
Really?
So some of them are like that.
Huh.
But
also,
it's kind of neat.
When I saw the video for her using it on Sion's ult, it also pointed out that the ult persists through her death. Where if she ults Sion and he's busy ulting, so he doesn't come back to her right away, and she dies while he's ulting, and then she hit her respawn because she was on Dominion. Well, after he finished ulting, he went all the way back to the fountain because after she died, that ult was still on for whatever reason.
Shen's another one. If Shen is ulting and you grab him, he will go to the champion he ulted to, even if it's across the lane, and then he'll kind of glitch, flash his way all the way back to where Kalista is. Then you could
I think that one's a bug because like TF and them can't. Yeah, they don't get pulled back. It's just Shen.
Pantheon, it doesn't work.
Right.
Well, Pantheon, I know he actually goes off the screen before he comes down. Shen just kind of disappears at the other location. So it's kind of like the Vel'Koz thing. It finishes the channel and then the ult takes effect. So
but even when like I've been playing and I would kill Kalista and then like her support was still in stealth and that's definitely something that you could use. Like if your Kalista does die and you need to get out, you can take advantage of that the rest of that ult duration to kind of get yourself out of trouble.
Oh, Kalista's ult, since we're talking about it, when she was new, I'd go to gank lanes or I'd be in the bottom lane and the support would put themselves in a precarious position, a stupid position, and we would dogpile her. And so, okay, might as well attack her. And then she gets ulted to safety. It's like, frustrating. I just used my exhaust, or I used some ability on her, and then she's out of there. And then they
on the
restart.
other side of that is that if you're playing a support with Kalista, you need to be mindful of not dying because it's bad enough if you die before using your abilities, but if you die and then the Kalista can't use her ult either, you're wasting extra spells. So you just want to be really cautious about your positioning, make sure you're playing the champion right, and you're not just dying for no reason. If you die, I mean, it happens to everybody, but just make sure that, you're not putting yourself in a situation where you're just giving away free kills, and then it's really hard for Kalista to use her entire kit if she's down on ultimate.
I notice if Kalista ults me, I get Reinhardt syndrome immediately. Reinhardt tunnel immediately. Because I'm like, even if I was playing Vel'Koz support, I have to use it. They'd all be at the turret, and then she'd ult me, and I go, I gotta go in. I go flying in at their turret.
Not
a good idea.
It lasts for 4 seconds, so you don't have to push it right away. Like everyone feels like, and I do it too. Yeah,
right.
As soon as it does, I go. But you gotta be patient.
You can borderline use it as a free Zonias for your support.
Yeah,
right.
it's good at that.
Yeah.
one other thing I wanted to mention on the ult is, while it's a really good initiation tool in lane, I was always kind of suspect about using it in team fights, because in order to do so, the carry has to get semi-close, or at least has to get onto the front lines in order for the support to get within range to jump in, which is dangerous, to say the least. I'm sure there are circumstances you can use it, you can pull it off correctly. Better Kalistas than I'm sure can do that. But another use that you can save your ult for is for peeling for yourself. Like if somebody dives the back lines, your support isn't near you, say, hey, support, come help me.
Yep.
Bring them back, and then the support can knock up the person that's on you, and it's a great way to help peel for yourself. And very practical as opposed to getting on the front lines and putting yourself at risk. So as more of a careful ADC player like myself, I kind of lean towards that later application, but I want to get more into a initiation.
I like the
addition to
Kalista
that,
combo.
yeah.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Alistar. I haven't played that yet. I want to, because it looks really good.
In addition to saving it because of that reason, you also, anytime you play like a CC champ like that, you want to keep in mind that usually people are careful about the positioning until a team fight starts, and then they all kind of group. Like that's a really good way if you play like a Sona or Annie or a Malphite or anyone like that. Like let if you are not the one initiating, you can always follow up initiate, because once that fight starts, the chances are that they're going to group up on each other. And it gives you, one, you're a little bit safer because they've already blown most of their CC. They've already blown a lot of their high damage skills. And then you can kind of get in there. They'll be grouped together and things like that. It's not as big of a deal. Like a Malphite, you want to be the one initiating. But if you're playing a squishy champ with some CC, or like if you're playing Kalista and you have a, support, you should just wait a little bit and just be patient with it. You don't have to throw it right away.
Good point.
Good way to disrupt him a little bit later.
I think the last thing I had to mention on Kalista, which I should have mentioned when I was talking about Q, but I forgot to, is its ability to pierce through targets.
I was gonna bring that up because this is huge.
If you kill it, right?
It is.
Yeah.
You have to. So if your Q kills the target, the first target it hits, it will keep going and it'll do full damage, which is really helpful for clearing a line of minions. Her clear isn't very good for minions, so she kind of has to get to the side to the caster minions and just chuck a spear through them all and kill them all at once. But the more practical purpose for this in lane is for trading. So if somebody's hiding behind the minions, you need to auto attack those minions down a little bit. Then you can hit the Q, goes right there and hits them. And that's also another reason why I love a Q first, because the more damage it does, the easier it is to pierce through a minion and hit your target.
So the way I really like looking at this is, say that you've been smacking that cannon minion like 6 times, so you have 6 spears in it, and then you throw the enemy laner, whether it be support or AD carry, is standing right behind that cannon minion, trying not to get pulled by a blitz grab or whoever else is on your team, just trying to like stand behind the minion line or whatever. You Q that cannon minion and kill it, and it has all those stacks on it, and then you just smack the person standing right behind it with all those spears, so you can immediately engage and trade off that.
It transfers all the spears to the target behind it.
So
if someone's trying to steal Dragon on you,
you can look at it almost as if it's
how awesome would that
the
be?
AD carry version of the new Scion E, where if you kick a minion, it'll go through that and hit them harder. It's like that, except if you kill a minion, all the spears transfer to the person standing behind the minion. So,
if you didn't watch the spotlight, when you use her Q, she gets the mobility, just like with her auto attacks, where she can do a hop, so you can terrain hop with that. Have you do you do that all the time there, Punch, when you're playing?
I have
do you
tried.
use that to terrain hop?
I've tried a lot to do that. It takes some practice.
I tried too.
Yeah, it's one of those abilities where you have to find the sweet spot in the wall to use it correctly.
Right,
and I have to join a custom game in order to do that. Like,
learn it.
I loved playing Nidalee. Nidalee is like one of my favorite champions, and so one of the things I did, and one of the things a lot of Nidalee players did, was they would join a custom game and just jump across the map and find which places on the wall they could jump through with pounce. You have to do the same thing with Kalista. And you also have that aspect of clicking fast enough in order to get it off, which there have been times where I've used Q and haven't clicked fast enough to get my martial cadence proc. So it's kind of like an added hurdle in order to actually jump the wall.
An extra action.
Mm-hmm. But it is pretty damn useful. I will not deny. Any AD carry that can jump over a wall is that's pretty nice. Pretty nice to have.
Kate, Lucian, Graves.
Ezreal. Yep.
Corky.
Those are pretty much all the safe ones.
Yep. Corky. His Valkyrie though has such a long cooldown.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What, 22 seconds at rank 1? Something around there? It's
something ridiculous where you hold on to it until you get ganked.
Yeah, pretty much. Or all in, but yeah, you save it for when you get ganked.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've all in numerous times on him just to have it turned around and be like, God, I wish I wouldn't have W'd.
Yeah, that's a pain.
Do you find that you that ult helps significantly during ganks on Kalista?
When you're getting ganked?
When you're getting ganked. Yeah, have you noticed it?
When you first?
It really, I mean, it's highly dependent on, and this is probably
the
obvious,
situation.
Or where your support is. There have been times when the support was closer to our tower than I was. In that case, it's not bad because you can pull the support back and he can jump forward.
Right.
Sacrifice them if they decide to go.
If they're sacrificing themselves for you,
or they hold on to it,
you can also use
the
your
knock
ult to
up
pull
from
them
the
out.
ult.
I've supported a lot of Kalistas in the past week, and I've actually her ult has saved me more than it saved her in a lot of cases where the jungler or mid laner comes down to collapse.
Yeah.
And she'll be like,
you're out of position.
Yeah, or anybody, like either of us are out of position. Like, we can at least get somebody alive rather than give up the double kill. So I do think it's pretty good, and it's great in that peeling sense, like Punch was talking about earlier. It's just, again, when you're trying to use it offensively, it's hard to use. I
haven't used
exclaim enough.
Once. I've tried, but offensively, I have not used it.
Even too,
you're not using it though. You kind of are.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, now support, do something with it. So that's what makes it a little weird.
Yeah, it's a two-person two people have to get used to it.
And
to work
decision.
I don't know if this is just me being bad or whatever, but whenever I'm playing support and I get Kalista ulted, I feel like there's a delay between the time that I want to like click on something to basically, mini Malphite ult in or whatever, and then like I'm clicking like crazy like to go in there, and then a second and a half later it decides to do it, and I'm like, well shit, that's not when I wanted that to happen. So I don't know.
I kind of want to play support with Kalista so I can see how it feels to get ulted, because I really don't.
Well,
I just hear about how awkward it is, and then
that's a good idea. To you want to
help you to understand when to use it.
The lock screen thing makes it super awkward because you'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go do something, or I'm using this ability here, and you're facing and you're trying to aim it or whatever, and then you get grabbed and you're like, what the hell just happened? Like,
you lose track of your champion.
Yeah, you lose track of your champion, and it's not just the lose track feeling, but I don't know, it doesn't feel good to lose control of your champion for any reason. And like, there's sometimes like, a Lee Sin kick. It's not like that's happening all the time. Kalista's ult, not like it's happening all the time. But when it happens, not always the most enjoyable thing, especially if you're playing Alistar, you're trying to Q and then get behind in W, but you Q, they grab you, and it's like, well, shit.
Yep.
You know what?
What's up?
You just gave me an idea. If Lee Sin's kick, if it hits into your guys, it knocks everybody up or slows everybody down. If you grab the target, if your support gets kicked back and you grab him,
you can save him.
That prevents him from hitting you and saves you guys too from that extra.
You're going to see support Lee Sin bind with Kalista, flash behind, kick, and then get grabbed back to safety. Who needs the insec when Kalista will do it for you?
It's going to be a new move, yeah.
But to go back to your original question, Days, about getting ganked, I'd say if they're already on you and your support is already safe, you'd have to be a huge dick to support your ult to pull your support back in. But like, save me! Sacrifice yourself! Because you're probably dead anyways.
You're not throwing them in, though. They're making the decision.
Right, yeah, they have to make the decision. But still, I mean, if they're already on you, you're probably dead in that situation. It has to be they're on their way towards you, and they haven't jumped on you yet, and then you have time to use your ult.
I was playing earlier with I was actually playing Graves earlier, and there were a lot of times where Kalista would sit really, really far back, and there was a Blitzcrank on the enemy team, and he would go really, really ham, but you'd get close to killing him, and you'd go to ult or something like that, and she'd just immediately grab him, save his life, and get out of there. And it's just like, well, there goes a massive cooldown, and I'm not going to use that on him next time.
Did they show that one on the video? Did they show a Blitz grab Kalista ult, throw back?
On the champion spotlight?
Yeah, no, in that weird video showing all the cheese.
If it was, I'm sure it probably was,
That's
but I didn't.
You grab a champion, she ults, and then you as Bliss throw yourself back even further and
back into the tower,
kidnap them away to your tower.
Man, I want to try that.
Great way to
now.
isolate somebody.
All the things to try, all the things to mess with.
But yeah, that's not what you're talking about, Chiro. Saving your support. That's the most time I've used the ult so far. It's just,
it's weird because your support can almost play really stupid, and you can completely make up for it. It's one of those things. Like I'm an aggressive support, so when I play with a Kalista, if I get out of position, I have kind of a get out of jail free card as long as
which is nice. Give it back to the support. Usually saving your ass.
Yeah. So that's actually a pretty cool interaction, but.
There have also been times where I've forgotten to use my ult to save my support, and they just died. And I look at my ultimate; it's off cooldown, and I just shake my head like I'm so bad. I could have saved it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what practice is for.
She's interesting, but she's hard as hell to play.
Yeah,
she is.
So
she's so hard to even get started in. It's not like some of those high skill cap champions where like you can kind of get in the ground floor and make them kind of sort of work. Like, she's just so tough.
Because it's not her abilities that are the weird thing to get used to.
It's the mechanics.
Her auto attack.
Yeah, it's purely her passive. I mean, yeah, Q, W, and E are all really straightforward. Her ultimate is difficult to use, but I think that's mostly an experience thing for the support and the marksman player.
How would you rate her? Punch?
I'm not sure I like that question.
Would you ever pick her over a meta champ if it was available?
I'm inclined to say yes as this meta evolves. Assuming it does become dragon focused, I think the power from her rend is just so strong to have that second smite. I could definitely see her being a common pick, but in order to be a meta pick, she has to be strong in lane, which she has the tools to be so. Like I said last episode, I think she's meant to be played as a lane bully. You just have to be good at her in order to actually bully the lane. So, if you can win the lane and you can pretty much take or secure every dragon and baron, she's going to get some play.
Well, one more question that I saw in Twitch chat, and I actually had the same question too. Runan's Hurricane. I know most ADCs, you don't want to pick that one up because you'd rather have the crit and movement speed on the Shiv or the Phantom Dancer, but you're putting spears on everybody.
Yes.
Is it really worth it for... You might as well just get a static Shiv lightning for clearing waves, and then for team fights, is it really that going to make a difference?
So my stance on Runan's Hurricane has always been this. As the AD carry, your job is to kill a single target as fast as possible. AoE is not your job. Runan's Hurricane only gives you attack speed, which is nice, but what you really want is backup stats to go with it, like the stats that Zeo provides, critical strike chance, right?
Right.
Runan's Hurricane just does not supply you with enough. And additionally, for Kalista, if you get too much attack speed, again, like I said last episode, you have to be a robot in order to use your passive correctly. Right. Because you're just attacking way too fast. You have to click nonstop in order to get all these passive procs.
So I feel like it's kind of like when Runan's first came out and everyone tried running it on Varus because of his stacks, and it kind of sort of did something, but at the end of the day, like Punch said, you didn't get the stats that you needed, and although the theory behind using it sounded good, it just wasn't nearly as effective as people expected it to be.
That and the short range application of the Hurricane itself, you have to get into a pretty precarious situation in order to really maximize the advantage of you buying that item. So especially somebody like Kalista, you're not orb walking, you're kind of
jumping,
auto dashing. And it's one of those things like you auto dash once wrong and now you're even closer. She's really squishy, and once somebody catches up to her, especially if they have like some sort of attack speed slow, a la Randuin's, that jumping is a little bit more intermittent and you can kill her. So
now I don't want to shit on Runan's too hard because I really like the concept. I think it's really cool, but it's almost like a 7th item. Something you would get after you sold your boots and some other item that's not as good. Because you want the single target damage first, and then maybe you would get it super late game when you're Twitch or somebody, so that you can get more.
Right.
Because it works. It kind of works with Twitch's ult, where you can
Mm-hmm.
He can pierce all his targets, and then he also gets the 2 extra attacks from the rune ends. So, I mean, that's the only time. I've never actually
Twitch
bought
is
it,
also played a little differently than a lot of the other ADCs in
And he
terms of
will
using
get
his
up close.
ult.
Yeah.
He will get close. Yeah, like Cheer was saying, if you're playing Kalista and you have the ability to be targeting 2 other champions, you probably want to reposition because that's a lot of people coming down on you real quick. So, yeah, I like the item too. I think it's fun and all that. I just don't feel like it's necessarily
I'm curious to see what her, with the weird alt cheese that she has going on, what'll happen to Rek'Sai when Rek'Sai ults to a tunnel in another lane.
Who knows? Rek'Sai looks really weird.
We can't talk about her until she comes out.
Over certain terrains. Yeah,
it looks
we'll
awesome.
see what she is. We'll see what she's like when she's released.
Teaser.
But yeah, I think that's all I had on Kalista.
That was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I'm glad that we kind of got to talk a little bit more. In
Finally.
Yeah.
I know, right?
I know you've been itching to since Monday. So let's go back to some of the things that we've seen in 4.2. Cheer, I know you were talking to me the other day about some of the new jungle, champions and the builds that you've seen everyone playing and things like that. So go over some of those with us.
All right, so it is pretty stock now that Ranger's Trailblazer is kind of the go-to jungling item.
Refresh me on which smite that is.
So that is the AoE smite that basically lets you clear even faster, gives you a decent chunk of HP and mana when you're clearing, and it's just kind of like you could build it on anybody out of the jungle and it will help their clear. So it's sort of that it's the safe
buy.
And considering that you usually don't want to die, the safe buy in many cases is the best buy.
Stalkers is the next safe buy, I guess, right?
Well, people have been building.
I've seen
Stalkers.
a lot of skirmishers lately.
Skirmishers is really good on auto attack champions that can lock people down. So that's why
Warwick.
Yeah, that's why Warwick.
Warwick.
And that item
I've
itself
seen it on
is,
Vi a couple times.
We ranted on the last episode.
well, and that's the thing. It can work great on champions that can do pretty significant lockdown. I played Devour Release the other day with the skirmishers and I made it work and I was kicking ass, but I don't think it was the skirmishers. I don't think Devour was the reason. I think it's just because I've played way more Elise than that person or whoever I was playing against had played their champion. So it's one of those situations where I think just experience on a character made it so a bad build worked. And that can definitely happen. So if you run into something that's kind of cool, don't necessarily be like, I just broke the game because I found something that would work. If you look at Elise, again, I did something stupid, built Devour on her when I could have got way more cooldown reduction in AP from any of the other item or Tenacity or whatever, which are all great on her. I had 50 something stacks and I was only doing 78-ish bonus magic damage. Add that to her 120 stock damage at what I had at level 15, 16 when the game ended, and it's only 200 damage per auto attack, so that's not that much. But again, this is the time to experiment, so keep doing that. Otherwise, I really like Rangers on basically anybody. It's different on Warwick, who gets a giant speed boost when a target's low, and since you can ult somebody and they're pretty low anyway and you're doing all that true damage, you can auto attack and be moving with them and they're probably not going to get away from you. I can see it being... It's really good if you're having issues with really, really powerful enemy duelists that are coming out of the jungle and you're a strong duelist. I could see it working great on Udyr, but again, I've been playing a lot of Udyr recently, and Rangers is so good because you just go Phoenix, you can clear the jungle faster than the enemy jungler and counter jungle before your stuff respawns. So what's the point in that?
And you know what? If you want that, just grab Devours.
Yep.
Enchant. I like how you can mix and match. You can go, okay, I want good clear for the early jungle, so I'm going Trailblazer. But then, I want to scale. What do I want for later in the game? Yeah, exactly. Yep. Oh, I need to be tanky. I'm going to grab Juggernaut, or I need to have Devour because I'm Udyr cheese.
Yeah, because I'm Udyr and I have tons of effective health.
The other one that I've seen skirmishers and with Devour be really successful on was Yi. Especially since I just realized that you can take the crab and that gives you a stack. Even though it does, it takes no damage to kill. but it gives you a stack. So when you start taking those consistently,
Well, and
yeah, that Yi's pretty scary with that item on it.
it's any of the champions that pick up Devourer, and I really like Rangers with Devourer, just because if you're clearing those camps that fast and you can move on and clear enemy camps, or because you're clearing so fast and you're basically topped off just because
and
that extra and you can duel.
Doesn't even matter.
You can gank, get those, clear your jungle fast enough to get the stacks and farm the stacks on your Devourers, but also gank and continue to get like double stacks for ganking, because you get 2 for a killer assist. So I'm really, really enjoying Rangers Trailblazer right now. Skirmishers is all right. It's good on people that want that or need that little space to with Smite to like close the distance. But
Stalkers.
yeah,
right?
like that's Stalker's Blade. But I really, really like Rangers right now. It's really strong.
My jungler in my ranked 5 team is lamenting that all of his tanky junglers aren't good anymore. And I was wondering if that was the case, or if I guess I was just wondering about like which junglers are the strongest right now. Sustain jungler is obviously really good right now,
Right.
But is it all like DPS
The
sustain?
first clear seems to suck.
It's the first
on
clear
tanky
is
junglers now.
And it's not just the first clear on tanky junglers. I've jungled Aatrox, Nautilus, Udyr, Elise, Zac. I've jungled a lot of people. In the game that we played last Monday, I mean, for the most part, Zac worked. I had 32 assists, and
I pretty good.
I died 7 times, had 1 kill, but I had a ton of assists. I was
You
there
Leroy
for a ton of
Jenkins did a
fights.
lot.
Yeah, I did that.
We're like, oh, shit.
Lost us the game.
Yeah, I did lose this game, but we don't have to talk about that anymore. It's exploded all over Twitter. So,
What are your thoughts on the
anyway,
tanky junglers?
it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Yes, their early clear is harsh.
The machete clear, but once you get that Trailblazer, it's fine.
Once you get the Trailblazer, it's awesome, and that's that's just
what
the
I noticed
case
on Sejuani,
on
at least.
junglers like Aatrox. Not the fastest clear. He has sustain, but he's not doing the AoE damage to clear the camps fast enough, and he's squishy early game. So it's like it's hellacious to get through that level 1 clear with how strong the jungle is at the moment. But you pick up that Rangers, and it's like, okay, that's not even an issue anymore. That's what happened with Zac. My early clear was not the greatest thing, and it is what it is. I mean, I got counter jungled a little bit, but that was based on like losing pressure around the map and some other things. And we had spent and focused way more on dragon control that game anyway. And we did get the first 3 dragons, so there is something to that. But there's the other issue right now. If the enemy ranger takes the enemy jungler takes rangers, and they like you die as Zac, and your passive is you still have your bloblings up for the passive, and it's about to res you, they can smite you and kill you instantly. So
That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah,
AoE, the bloblets.
but I mean, tanky junglers are a little bit hurt, but again, for the most part, as long as you can keep the enemy jungler from giving up, like, applying too much pressure to the map early, or your laners are playing a little safe early.
Before you get your...
As soon as you get your rangers, things start to they start to even out. And
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask is, after you got the Rangers, do you need to dedicate some time to farm the jungle a bit or to catch back up?
Well, I played Nautilus the other day, and I got counter jungled pretty hard early because my team wasn't reacting when they had a Jax and their mid laner were like roaming together into my jungle because I was playing Nautilus, and the first clear was rough. I got blue, so I was fine, and it got to the point where like on 2.5 clears of the jungle, I was clearing fast enough where I could actually counter jungle Jax if he was on the other side of the map, trying to make a gank happen, and Jax ganks aren't the strongest, so that happened quite a bit because he was really bloodthirsty, and it just really depends. You can definitely still make tanky junglers work. It's just the damage early can...
And you're going back pre-level 4 as a tanky jungler, I've noticed.
Well, that's the other thing too. People need to be way... If you think you should go back because you're jungling, this is the season where if you think you should go back, you should go back.
Yeah.
If you're hurt, don't try to do that Raptor camp. I don't care if you think you're at 25% health and you're going to live. They hit harder than almost anything else in the jungle. So, I mean, sometimes I would rather fight a buff than I would that camp because it's like, oh, I'm doing fine, but at least I can smite it and get my health back off red. you know. At least until I get that Rangers, but there's it really depends. Your clear will get pushed back a little bit, but again, it's not worth dying. And if you're warding up your jungle and you're not getting counter jungle, the nice thing about this season is as long as you're clearing stuff and the enemy jungler like comes into your jungle and they don't have a timer on when your stuff's spawning, they waste a ton of time. So it's weird in that if you're timing things well, you can really, really punish the enemy jungler. But if you don't have wards in the enemy jungle and you go to counter jungle, you'll show up and it's like there's a 100-second window that you could be spending doing nothing, and you usually don't want to be doing nothing. I would say you would always want to be.
That's always a worry for the jungler when you're making your decisions to gank lanes and stuff too, though.
When do you see yourself starting to gank lanes?
Depends on the character I'm playing. I mean, I usually try to gank like near the end of a clear, or if just I basically do the same stuff I've usually done, where if I feel like I'm on par with where the enemy jungler's at, or that I'm playing somebody like Udyr who is way ahead in the ability to clear things, like the quick clear sustain junglers again are just monsters right now. If I have the health to do it and people are out of position and I feel confident in a gank, that's the time to gank. Again, it's that game sense thing. If you think you can make something happen and it's not going to be detrimental to you if you fail, go for it.
So it could still be as early as level 3 for you?
I've done it on level 3. Elise is one of those champions that can still do it at level 3 because you can tank stuff with Spiderling, so you're not that low. Plus she has all the tools in her kit to do it. You can still do it, but I typically like to try and full clear, or at least get like one camp from full clearing and then gank the lane that I'm going up to do, and then come back, take that last camp, and then go back or try and restart my clear after that. But it's just, I still have yet to get the timing down because of the weirdness in timing now between the smites and the camp spawns. So again, you know, even though I've been doing this a long time, this is still a work in progress for me. So I'm still learning as I go, which is why I've been trying so many junglers. And I mean, if somebody has a jungler that they want me to try out and give you my opinion, I'd be happy to do it as well.
I'd like to see you play Nautilus more. I'm
curious.
I
mean, I'll definitely I'll pick him up more. I played Nasus the other day, and
was it rough?
It was actually just because I didn't get that strong of a leash early, and I maxed his E first, and the clear eventually didn't become an issue, and I was so big by the end of the game it didn't matter. But it isn't the same thing as what you're able to do last season. Like, you could jungle Nasus and still get a pretty high Q stack, but with how long it takes for camps to die, not so much anymore. So, I don't know.
I've seen a few really impressive Udyrs, and I know you're a huge asshole on Udyr.
Yeah.
You said how well did you like him when you tried him out?
So I'm just looking at my recent match history. Out of the last 10 games I played 2 as Udyr, I went 13-3-10 and 9-5-9 with
that's not bad.
The highest damage done in both games and the most damage taken. So,
wow.
Good job, well done.
In my opinion,
junglers,
high
damage junglers usually get highest damage done.
Yeah,
not to champions.
Well, no, that was damage done to champions.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Phoenix Udyr is really, really good right now. I would
Devour.
Devour Phoenix Udyr. I'm a big proponent of Tiger Udyr, and I like it way better, but it's not as good now that the camps don't die as quickly because you're taking more damage instead of just insta AoEing them down because you're a giant bird shooting fire everywhere. So he's a lot of fun right now. I would almost put him in kind of the same spot Warwick's in. It's just you have to have a lot of practice on Udyr to be able to do it. You can't just pick up Warwick and then press one button and ult somebody and they die. But you can do a lot of fun stuff, and you have tons of effective health. So spamming Turtle Stance Phoenix, you don't have the mana issues that you had in the past, so you can spam abilities a little bit more. So.
Right. So I guess takeaways mainly from this conversation about the new jungle. Trailblazer is a safe item.
Yep.
And then you can tailor to your champion based on your enchantment that you pick up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get that 350 gold for the upgrade from the machete, that's when things really start to pick up.
I would say as soon as you get the money, as soon as you have the money to go buy one of the upgraded smites, go back and get it. You're shooting yourself. Shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go back and get it, because it's going to really increase your clear speed based on what you pick.
Point.
So,
one more question on jungle.
Go for it.
Sorry. I was wondering what camp you found yourself using Smite on the most of all of those juicy buffs that you can get.
Early, it depends on how great of a leash I'll get at, like, and what side I'm starting. So if I can get a really good leash and I'm blue side starting the Krugs, I'll just have the crumbs, the Krugs. I'll just have my bottom lane help me with those. I won't smite it, and then I'll go and smite red because I can get a big health boost off of red, and then have an easy time clearing my jungle. Otherwise, while still being able to push through pretty easy. And for the most part, as long as, like, if I go from Krugs to red to Raptors, Wolves, or Raptors to blue or whatever, my smite's usually up by the time I get to blue, depending on who I'm playing. Certain champions can get their way faster, but starting red side, I like to do the Gromp and have my bottom lane again help me with that. And
blue
then smite,
side?
whatever side, top side of the map. That's red side. Top side of the map, I like killing Gromp into blue buff. Smite blue buff, especially if I'm having a jungler that the nice thing about if you're going to go smite blue, you can blow a ton of abilities on the Gromp and you don't have to worry about it. So you're going to get that mana back anyway. But after that and after the early clear, I try and smite Raptors probably every time I go to gank. And if I'm playing a jungler that's using the skirmishers or any smite that I can use on a player, I'm playing a jungler that doesn't absolutely need to smite a camp. I don't necessarily smite a camp just because there are situations. Again, that game I was playing Elise with the skirmishers. Basically, the enemy had a Syndra, and I was not afraid to try and 1v1 that Syndra ever because I would just smite her and she's doing 20% less damage to me. So go ahead and ult me. It ain't going to do anything. And I killed her like 6 times because of that. So again, it's one of those things. If you know you're a strong duelist, you can do some pretty interesting stuff with that smite ability. But I really like getting the Raptor camp just because having the knowledge of where they're warding, especially if you can kill one of their wards early and they continue to ward that spot, when you pick up a sweeper later, you can pre-sweep it, grab the Raptors, and go and grab another, like, go basically deep into their jungle and find one of those missing, wards that you might have no idea that it's there. Or, if you have a safe ward to go and try and, a safe buff that you can go and take the ward that's at Dragon or something else like that. So I like killing the Raptor camp. Otherwise, again, if I'm on a jungler that takes a lot of damage out of the jungle, I go Krugs. If the enemy has a strong counter jungler, I like taking Wolves if I'm going to be spending more time mid and top lane, just because I like to know if they're down there and it alleviates some pressure from the bot lane as long as you're on the red side, so that they're not getting ganked as much, and it alleviates pressure from the top lane if you're blue side, and you can use smite to take those wolves. So it's really so situational.
Is that we've talked about the jungle pretty much since we've seen the patch notes. We've talked about the jungle extensively every episode, and the reason is because that's the biggest change, pretty much. That is the core of this patch is the jungle, because all of the new items and the smitems and the smite and everything has just been revamped for it. So if you guys are getting sick of the jungle conversation, we're sorry, but that's pretty much 4.2's core.
Yeah, I mean, that's
jungle,
the biggest thing that's happened. And yes, there have been changes made to champions, but...
And not only that, it's still being figured out.
Right.
Like, people are still trying to figure out exactly what's optimal, and we're trying to keep you up to date on that stuff. And we'll keep throwing in things like we did, Kalista, and we're going to throw in some more strategies and some more champions and things like that. But for the most part, jungle is what's going to affect you the most right now.
Did we talk elixirs?
We did
the other day.
We mentioned them, but now that we've messed around with them...
Have you had a lot of experience with them, Declan?
Oh, yes. I love
tell us about
elixirs.
that, because I really don't have a lot of experience with them yet.
Elixir of Rage on Strong Duelist is amazing, and it can last forever. It can last forever.
Yeah, I want to talk about Elixir of Sorcery.
Okay.
Just for mages. You drink it, 400 gold, just like all the other ones. 40 ability power, 15 MP5, mana regeneration per 5 seconds. And that sorcery buff. Damaging a champion or turret deals 25 bonus true damage. It has a 5-second cooldown versus champions, but no cooldown versus turrets. So, already, based on your ability power, your auto attacks do more damage to a turret. And then you get this true damage on top of it every time you attack the turret. You know, it's like having Devourers against a turret, which is pretty sweet for pushing. You get the Baron buff, you have this elixir running, and hell, you know, send your mage to split push now. Fizz comps where Fizz split pushes. It's insane. Turrets just melt under his trident. And also, it just against champions, you get that one little boost, which is nice, but that ability power MP5 is sweet. My other favorite one, of course, Chi-Chi was mentioning the Wrath, but my other favorite one is Iron, Elixir of Iron. And 25% increased size, my favorite part about it. 25% slow resistance, and 25% tenacity, which stacks because it's not a passive tenacity.
That is
unique.
ridiculous.
So let's say you got the Merc Treads. Now you got, what is it? 60% 60% tenacity. So 60% reduced time on all CC slows.
Yeah, I was about to say, now you're a tank that can't really be CC'd.
And you have slow resistance on top of that tenacity, which already is a slow resistance, pretty much.
It's weird because I've been using Elixir of Iron on really strong engagers, and I've been using Elixir of Ruin on tanks that don't necessarily have that strong engage, but I can like tank turrets with. So I really like what they've done with the elixirs and made them so, I guess, personalized for the many diverse champions that are out there rather than just red and blue flat buffs. You get way more choice now. And I gotta say, Elixir of Wrath, if you can get a couple kills and you have that elixir going, you can die and come back and that'll still be ticking. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Something completely unrelated and not helpful at all to anybody listening, but regarding the size of your champions, a funny story. The first game I ever played, I was playing with people who knew what they were doing and I had no clue. And we were against a Cho'Gath who was getting pretty fed. And he was like unstoppable and godlike and legendary. And I literally thought that your champion got larger in size the more kills you got. I had no idea it had anything to do with his ult. I thought because he was legendary and because he was godlike, he kept getting bigger in size. Random story. Anyways.
Yeah, the size thing, I love the size thing just for, you know, of course, for how you look on the map. And it makes you just feel tankier and it encourages you to go in because you usually get it on a tanky champion anyway.
Does it increase your hitbox size?
I believe it does. I believe everything that increases your size does.
I believe that goes hand in hand.
So and that helps. You know, people don't take into account that actually helps, especially on a tanky champion. That helps all of your squishies
if you're standing on the squishy, it's harder to hit them.
Right, and you know, if someone gets pulled like by a blitz or a thresh, it's going to be you. The skill shots, the bindings, anything like that, you can block a lot of damage from your squishies without doing anything.
If you're attacking one of their squishies, there's no way they're clicking that lantern that Thresh is going to throw to save them if your lumbering ass is right on top of it. So it's pretty sweet. Also, the Iron one leaves a path behind you, kind of like Galio's little wind gust, where all allied champions get 15% movement speed increase. 15,
and
right?
that's why I said I like it on strong initiators, because they can immediately follow up. Or follow up faster than they would have been otherwise. So that in itself is awesome.
The elixirs are just neat, and they last for 3 minutes, which is sweet. The Wrath one, if you get a kill while you have it, you extend it by another 30 seconds, which is pretty sweet. If you're one of those fighters, hopefully you're getting a kill or an assist every 30 seconds.
I was playing somebody the other day with it, and I know I ended up getting a triple, and it was near the end of its duration, and I died, rezzed, came back, it was still up, killed another person, and I had that thing rolling for like 8 minutes.
That's pretty awesome.
It was ridiculous.
As Dom pointed out in the Twitch chat, our last game on Monday night that we mentioned briefly, I was at the point where I sold my boots for another item, and then sold another item for another item. So it was essentially a 7-item build before I realized I could buy an elixir.
Oh, elixirs.
And Dom pointed out, hey, everybody buy elixirs. I was like, oh yeah, those things.
Yeah.
So don't be like me. Elixirs, they're really good, they're so good right now that you should pick them up when you're leaving base and you can't get another big item, I believe. Like if you've got 400 gold laying around.
Don't wait till you're full build to get them.
Those stats can make a huge difference in like a fight at Dragon or Baron. Or anywhere.
If you guys are planning to go take Baron, pick up an elixir before you go there. Definitely.
And know what your stats are. Don't buy it and then not use it. Like if you're going to buy that AP one, then go attack some towers a little bit. Try to make use of it.
Yeah.
Don't forget it. Don't buy it and forget about it.
Yeah, right. Make sure you use it. If you're one of those champions where they have a lot of CC, but you just do not want to get those Merc Treads, you want to get the armor because it's ADCC, for example.
This can
keep that. Yeah.
Patch that.
Keep that elixir running, iron running, because you get faux Merc Treads for 3 minutes, and you just keep that sucker running every chance you get. And you're fine. You've got your tenacity there. So it gives you other options. And the lifesteal as well. If you don't want to buy lifesteal, Pantheon, I usually don't want to buy lifesteal if I'm not going Hydra, which I usually always go Hydra because it's fucking awesome on him. But if I don't go for the Hydra, or if I want more lifesteal, pick up the Wrath elixir, and that'll compensate. So you can compensate in other areas, and you can actually plan your item build around elixirs, which you couldn't really do before.
Right. As long as you're higher level,
don't be
than
a punch.
level 9 or higher.
Don't be me.
Can't buy
Don't be a
I am
punch.
bad. Don't be me.
He may be a funny fellow, but when it comes to elixirs, well, he knows now, so he's good.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
All right. Well, it's getting close to 9. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover tonight before we head out?
No, I think we pretty much hit everything important.
All
we
right.
can hit the jungle again.
Oh, God.
Let's go over the jungle.
Yeah.
Let's go to the jungle.
It's about time.
Let's talk about
So-
Jungle Kalista.
Yes.
There we
It won't
go. We'll
work.
just combine the whole
Yes.
episode. All right. Well, on Monday, we'll be back on Monday. Make sure you guys don't forget to go into the T-Force Network Reddit subreddit and go add your questions in for the LCS rundown for December 14th. They're going to be interviewing one of the challenger teams from NA, so that should be interesting. Make sure that you tune in for that show and kind of support them a little bit with the questions, give them anything that you're curious about, and go to I forgot the link. Where'd it go? bit.ly/tforcegame. And there you can help our friends over at Prolific Games finish their Kickstarter with Flapjacks and Sasquatches. We'll be back on Monday. We're probably going to cover some support things. I know people have asked what's changed there. And we'll have some more, we'll touch on more champions and things of that nature. I think we've covered the jungle pretty, extensively. So we may have a little bit more here and there on that, but we probably won't be spending, the majority of the podcast on it. So definitely tune in for Monday.
Yeah.
We'll
if you
see.
have any,
is Adam going to argue with you on Monday?
Yes.
I don't know. He might.
He wants to
I
be there
might
for
be
the Zerg
going
Hawk.
over. Yeah, I might be going over some weird Zyra stuff on Monday. So tune in for that. Adam wants to be there, so it should be an interesting argument.
It'll be a bloodbath. Tune in
And,
Monday. There.
Monday,
If you have
Monday.
any questions about patch 4.2, about the new jungle, the new season, anything like that, you can definitely send them in. You're just going to email feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com, and we will be starting listener questions up again soon. So, everybody have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.
Good night, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to the Trinity Force Podcast, part of the Trinity Force Network. If you liked our advice and would like to hear your question read on air, you can reach us at feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com. You can also check out all of our other awesome products that we release on the weekly. Your first stop is at trinityforcepodcast.com, where you'll find links to the LCS Rundown and Oz LOL podcast. Next, head over to youtube.com/tforce podcast to find weekly VODs of all our shows and battle arenas. And as you may have guessed it, we're also available on social media, facebook.com and twitter.com/tforce podcast to follow us there. Finally, you can catch us live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/tforce podcast. For more information on our schedules, click on the bar on the top of trinityforcepodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and join us each week for a double dose of your favorite League of Legends discussion.